Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show. It's nice to have you along for the next hour of sports talk fun. What a weekend. What a weekend. The Philadelphia Phillies couldn't manage to win a series against the red-hot Washington Nationals, not even in front of the little leaguers. I did like the broadcast last night. I did like the broadcast last night, but the game, not so much. Zach Wheeler, 5 straight hits to lead off the ball game is not exactly how you want to lead off the ball game if you're Zach Wheeler. Then he did one of my favorite phrases in baseball. He settled in nicely after that. He sure did, but could have used a little bit more settling in the early goings of that first inning. And then the bats did nothing until the 9th inning. That too was fun. So we'll get into that Phillies. And you know, here's the best part about it. I'm just going to start it off with this. Okay, boom. There's the wild card standings. Phillies are 2 games up on the San Francisco Giants, who they host next. They host the San Francisco. I've been dreading this series. Like, I want to be excited for this series. I am dreading this series. I do not have a great feeling in the gut of my stomach, in the deepest depths of my stomach, looking at the San Francisco Giants, which makes me then overthink it and be like, oh, well, then they'll be fine. If you're feeling that lousy about it, they'll be fine. The Phillies are 2 games up on the Giants for the top spot in the National League wild card. They're 2.5 games in a wild card spot. The Chicago Cubs are the 3rd team and final team in the wild card right now. The Cincinnati Reds, the Miami Marlins, and Arizona Diamondbacks are all a game out, with the San Diego Padres 6 games out. So that's where we stand right now. The Phillies are about to host the San Francisco Giants after the Giants just mustered a win, salvaged a win in the series to avoid the sweep with the Atlanta Braves, thanks to a bases-loaded Jock Peterson walk. So that helped them win at least one game. Would have helped the Phillies a little bit more too, but unfortunately that just wasn't the case. So now Gabe Kapler is coming to Philadelphia, coming back to CBP for a pivotal series with the Phillies for the wild card race. Here's what I'll get into what looms in the balance in a minute, but I also want to tell you that we're going to talk a little Eagles football today, as one would assume. The linebacker position is coming clear into focus. Over the weekend, Miles Jack helped that come into focus by just saying, you know what, I'm good. I think I've had enough. It's time for trade school. It's time to learn to be an electrician or a carpenter or some other zombie apocalypse a trait that will help me survive an apocalypse such as that. So he's out. He decides to retire over the weekend, tells the Eagles thanks but no thanks, and now he's no longer in the NFL. So Zach Cunningham and right now Nakobe Dean seem like they will be your linebackers week 1, game 1 against the New England Patriots. That, as they have been reporting, as they've been saying, is looking all too clear right now for the Eagles. Christian Ellis looks like a guy that is absolutely going to be making the team. Nicholas Morrow, most likely making the team. But your starters at linebacker right now look like Zach Cunningham, the newcomer, as well as Nakobe Dean. So I look forward to at least seeing that and what type of fruit that could bear for the Eagles when the season actually gets underway. Thursday night, when they take on the Colts, I would assume both those players will not be playing. I assume Zach Cunningham and Nakobe Dean will not be playing. So we'll get into that conversation. When it comes to the safety position, still very much a question at Eagles camp at the NovaCare complex as to what they'll be doing with the safety spot. If I had to take a guess right now, the days leading into their final preseason game, this is the way I think it is going to play out. I think Terrell Edmunds is going to be your week 1 starting safety for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think by week 5, week 6, somewhere around there, Sidney Brown will be your starting safety for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Sidney Brown is going to get an opportunity to get mixed in. He's going to get snaps defensively in the early goings of the season, but I don't think he is going to be your starter. I don't think he's going to be your every down starter when he comes in and eventually does start somewhere around like 5 or 6. I don't think it's going to take till really halfway through the season, but I think he is going to get those reps eventually. I do think he plays. I will say I do think he plays coming up on Thursday night. I think he's going to get some opportunity to see what more he could do at the safety position. But I think it's going to be Terrell Edmunds, and I think it's going to be Sidney Brown getting those reps. Terrell Edmonds, I don't think plays coming up. What more do you need to know from the veteran in the preseason game number 3? What more do you need to know? I don't think you're going to find out anything more about him. So when push comes to shove, Sidney Brown will be a starter this year. He will not be a starter, I think, in the early goings of the season. If it were me, if it was moi, I would have him start week 1, ready to go. And I would get those startup costs that we've talked so much about. I would get them out of the way as soon as possible to just let him go around there and start hitting people. Here's what I really like about Sidney Brown. Obviously, the physicality is the thing that jumps off to you. The speed jumps off to you about what type of player he is. He needs the opportunity to learn, and he's only going to learn by playing. He needs the opportunity to get experience. He's only going to get experience if he's playing. So play him, not just in the preseason, but in the regular season as week 1 starter. That's what I would want to happen. My prediction is that the Eagles do not do that. But I think you just put him out there and you get that experience under his belt as soon as humanly possible, so that maybe his mistakes in week 1 really help him out in week 5, week 6, week 10, week 15. Get those startup costs out of the way with Sidney Brown. We'll get into that conversation today. Well, let's talk about what made Nick Sirianni throw his bullhorn to the ground at practice. And there is one constant name. A couple other guys have been mentioned. Nakobe Dean has been mentioned. Avonte Maddox mentioned himself when it came to who's the player that you really see breaking out on the defense this year. Can it be me? Well, then me. That's a good way to not put pressure on anybody else. A.J. Brown really didn't even want to answer the question, who's going to have a breakout year, because he said, oh, you guys are all going to write. You guys are all going to talk about me putting pressure on people. Oh, it's going to have a big year. A.J. Brown said it. So he's smart in that regard. So we'll get into that conversation. And then the NBA. The NBA is looking into the James Harden situation. On behalf of all of Philadelphia, I feel like I can say this. And I never thought I'd say this in terms of basketball and the city of Philadelphia, in terms of NBA and the city of Philadelphia, okay? I never thought I'd say this. But thank you. Thank you, National Basketball Association. Thank you, Adam Silver. They have decided to launch an investigation, if you will, into the James Harden saga going on right now between Daryl Morey and James Harden. And I feel like a big dumb idiot for not thinking about this as soon as it happened. If you're the NBA and you hear a player like James Harden during any appearance, China, Oklahoma, Houston, Philadelphia, wherever, if you hear any player come out in a public forum and it goes viral on social media, and one of the lead NBA reporters in Shams Charania puts out the video, like James Harden saying, Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will not be part of any organization that's Daryl Morey. Let me repeat that. Daryl Morey is a liar. If you're the NBA and you see that, don't you think, what just happened here? Like we all did? Like, what happened last year then? If he's a liar, what was said in last year's meeting leading up to the season when James Harden took that $15 million pay cut? What happened in that conversation? What was promised, Daryl? Were you doing some illegal negotiating? Were you tampering in the earliest form of tampering? I want to know. If you're the NBA, you're going to be thinking that. That's what we were thinking. And credit to the NBA, because they just might uncover a team that just got draft picks for how they handled the PJ Tucker situation. They just might have handled this situation shadily. I'm looking forward to the results of this, because if Daryl Morey did promise something, then that's illegal. You can't do that. That's against NBA rules. That's against the CBA there. So if he did promise something, the Sixers are in trouble. If he just said, oh, yeah, we'll revisit this and we'll take care of you, something broad like that. First off, okay, I could see how that would be vague, but I could also see how that would be a way for Daryl Morey to get James Harden to take less money then to get paid more money now. Vague. But if James Harden took that vague statement as max contract, well, then that's just silly. And James Harden's representatives, if they conveyed that message as well, that too just looks silly. Now, here's one thing we do know, and this has been reported as well. James Harden making that comment was against the wishes of his representatives. So maybe they knew that if he did say something like that the NBA would be like, oh, wait a minute, let's look into this. And then the NBA would discover that Daryl Morey did nothing wrong and James Harden just doesn't know how to read the tea leaves. So those are the two outcomes that could come out of this situation with the National Basketball Association and the 76ers, James Harden, Daryl Morey. Thank you, NBA. We'll get into that a little bit more later in the show. But I do want to start it off with your beloved Philadelphia Phillies. It's one of those points in the season where you really are starting to play. Look, we're almost at September, okay? It is August 21st. We're in a situation right now where I feel like the Phillies are really in the push come to shove moment, where you're either in or you're out. You're either a playoff team, you're either a number one playoff team as far as not being a division winner. You're either one of the best or you're not. And the Phillies right now losing 2 or 3 to the Washington Nationals. I know they are on one hell of a run. And now they're going to go face the Yankees, who have just lost 8 in a row. That's the Yankees' longest losing streak since 1995. So the Nationals are going to go take on them, and we'll see if they stay hot against a bad team. But the Phillies could not cool a hot team in the Washington Nationals. I don't know what it is with Zach Wheeler facing the Washington Nationals, but this year in particular, it has been terrible. And I really do. I love the in-game interviews they were doing last night, especially the ones with the little leaguers. Thought that was so much fun. I thought it was a great celebration of the future of the game now, the future meeting the present. I thought that was awesome. I thought they did a great job with that. I could definitely do without David Cohen thinking that the Philadelphia Phillies bat swung by Bryce Harper last night I could do without him thinking that was SpongeBob SquarePants. Don't you know your shades of green? Anyway, I like the interviews. And last night, I thought there was actually something very telling to come out of one of those in-game interviews. Lane Thomas, after the 5 consecutive hits in the bottom of the first inning against Zach Wheeler, mentions, oh yeah, we're just seeing the ball out of Zach Wheeler's hands for whatever reason this year really well. And he's like, every other year, I couldn't, hit the broadside of a barn, basically. And anything that Zach Wheeler threw, we were all confused. We were all dumbfounded. We were all befuddled. But this year, for whatever reason, we're seeing pitches out of his hand extremely well in crystal clear definition. We are seeing whatever Zach Wheeler's throwing very well. Well, that would prove true. You go back to the last 3 starts that Zach Wheeler has had against him. He had that one blow-up performance, that 3 1/3 against Washington in D.C. That was after they got swept by the Mets. Then in that 19-4 win, they still hit him around pretty well. And then yesterday, 5 hits to start the ball game. There's a no-hitter. Is there an all-hitter where literally everyone gets a hit off you? Is that possible? And then he settled in nicely after that. So I don't know what changed. NBC didn't have the coverage of the game last night. So when I went to, just see what Rob Thompson had to say, I read up and I didn't see anything about it. I wanted to listen to it. I couldn't, but there was nothing out there saying that Zach Wheeler was tipping pitches or having an issue with that. But it certainly would lend itself to me that that's what he was doing. Because after that, they must have changed something. They must have made some kind of adjustment. And it just didn't look like it was the case. So it was a worrisome thing there for Zach Wheeler in the first inning. Would this be another 2-inning performance? Would this be another 3 1/3 inning performance against the Washington Nationals? But after that, settled in nicely. The Phillies bats, however, did not do anything to help their starting pitcher or pick them up after that inning. They didn't have any runs cross the plate. They had, I think it was 3 hits going into the bottom of that 9th inning. Before Bryce Saga got on base, you had Brandon Marsh get the RBI single. Then Jake Cave hit his 3rd home run in 4 games. So good for Jake Cave swinging the hot bat. But they didn't do anything to pick up their starting pitcher after that. Now, Zach Wheeler went on to throw 7 innings, 6 of those innings scoreless after the first inning, and throw 99 pitches in the effort. They found a way to pick up Aaron Nola in Toronto last week. They couldn't find a way to pick up Zach Wheeler in this start. One thing in particular jumped out to me about Rob Thompson's lineup, and he had moved Alec Boehm down in the order and moved Trey Turner up in the order. Not the move I would have made if I was Rob Thompson. I would have shake things up at all in the order. Now, Bryce Harper was playing first base. And I just said something really nice about the interviews. I like the interviews. I don't like interviewing a first baseman. I don't like interviewing a pitcher. I sure as hell don't like interviewing a catcher because that'd be really weird. But I don't like interviewing, and I haven't seen a catcher interviewed for the record. But I don't like the idea of a pitcher getting interviewed, and I don't like the idea of a first baseman getting interviewed. Those three spots right there seem like they're going to be used a lot. So maybe not distracted. And credit to Bryce Harper, he stopped talking. They would ask him a question, he'd be like, yeah, just a second, guys. And then a pitch would happen, he would watch a foul ball and be like, okay, yeah, I love my teammates. Teammates are great. Being out here for the Little League World Series is awesome. That was cool. But I don't like first baseman getting interviewed. During the game, though, Bryce Harper at first base, loved it. Jake Haven left field, fine. Brandon Marsh back in center field, great. But in the lineup itself, Trey Turner batting second and Alec Boehm being moved down in the order doesn't make any sense to me. If you're going to do anything to shake up the order, to try to get a little bit more consistency or anything, where is the idea? Like, why not do what I think most people look at as an obvious thing and move Kyle Schwarber down in the order? Why does he have to bat? Like, I understand the production. I understand that the Phillies win. I understand all that. But I'm not saying it has to be a permanent thing. But if you're going to shake things up at all, why doesn't Kyle Schwarber go back down, maybe hit fourth in a game, fifth in a game? Why is it, if you're going to move Trey Turner up, if you feel inclined to promote Trey Turner, why not move Trey Turner up in the order to the leadoff spot? Why not? Maybe even then Kyle Schwarber bats second. Then you have the righty-lefty just to lead off your lineup there. I don't understand the only person in this lineup that cannot be budged off his spot other than a once-in-a-blue moon day off is Kyle Schwarber. I don't know the reasoning behind it. I can only speculate. My theory is that when Bryce Harper was healthy, the deal was, hey, when he's back, I'm back in the leadoff spot, right? Okay, cool. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And you had an opportunity, I thought, in this game to shake things up a little bit. If you wanted to move Alec Boehm down and you wanted to move Trey Turner back up, but have maybe he leads off. Maybe Kyle Schwarber bats second here. Maybe you start the season. Maybe you do what you did to start the season and have that kind of combo to leave things off for you. But just show me that there's some more flexibility with this lineup. If you're going to move things around, especially after a win like that against Washington, you're going to shake the lineup up like that. Why not another opportunity there? Just maybe see what else Kyle Schwarber can. See if he can hit a home run batting fifth. 100. Here's the thing. On pace for, 213 strikeouts now, I think it is. Another career high in strikeouts. I know one of the things that I look back on, and I was a huge fan of Ryan Howard, and like many people loved Ryan Howard, but sometimes you would have that big strikeout in a crucial situation with runners on base. So it felt like it hurt you even more. So maybe you're avoiding that by not having Kyle Schwarber bat down the order. But, man, to have those runners on base for 32 home runs, that's a lot of runs. That's a lot of runs right there. So why not just try it? I'm not saying it has to be permanent. Just see if he can continue to hit, even batting fourth or fifth in the lineup. Maybe you have him second. Maybe if Trey Turner's getting on base and he got another hit yesterday, that was great. He had hit another one on a bullet yesterday that just was a diving stop by Vargas there at third base. But just why is it that Kyle Schwarber just can't bat below the leadoff spot right now? I didn't like Boehm being moved down with all the production he has given you recently. Trey Turner obviously busted out of being terrible, so that's good. But all of a sudden that warrants a two-hole spot? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I didn't like that from Rob Thompson during the game. Or before the game, I should say. And during the game, I didn't like it much either. Now, Boehm didn't have himself a great game, so it doesn't help my theory at all. He had an over 3, I think it was last night. But it was just, it was rough sailing for the Phillies, offensively speaking, throughout the game up until that 9th inning when they actually came alive a little bit. Garrett Stubbs tried to help you out with a Stubbs special down the first base line in the 8th inning with that little bunt, the little drag bunt. He loves dropping down. And how about this? How about Garrett Stubbs signing autographs to the Little Leaguers and then asking them to sign his jersey when they were walking through Williamsport? I thought that was fantastic. couple of things from the in-game interviews. Nick Castellanos remains to be hilarious. Says Garrett Stubbs is his favorite teammate personality-wise. He also, the one kid that he interviewed who was from Australia, but I believe had a Korean ethnic background, he said, wow, you're a citizen of the world. Love that. I think Nick Castellanos has no patience for being asked questions by adults, and he said as much over the weekend when he said, it's a much more genuine thing when you're being asked questions by kids. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But I think Nick Castellanos just doesn't suffer fools at even an ounce. He has no time for the adult, but has all the time in the world for the kids. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I liked what Harper had to say about coming back from Tommy John surgery, about how hard it was, how hard he had to work. Being out there with his brotherhood, nothing's better than that. He got a lot of conversation throughout the broadcast about getting emotional in the pregame broadcast, talking about his kids. Let me just tell you, as a father to young kids, that does hit different, man. It does hit different. If you got young kids, man, Bryce Harper just talking about his kids and then wanting to he did. He got emotional. He didn't break down and cry, but he started getting teary-eyed about it. Oh, I feel that, man. I feel that. You get lost in your thoughts sometimes with it. Oh, it's emotional. I couldn't imagine being a baseball player. I couldn't imagine even traveling anymore like I did for 11 years with Sunday Night Football and have kids at home. Like just hearing people right before the kickoff calling home and talking to their wives, talking to their husbands, talking to their kids. How'd you do on the test? Do you have another one tomorrow? How'd you do in the game? Imagine being a baseball player. Imagine traveling a lot for work. You're gone for days at a time. That does hit different, as they say. So love that Bryce Harper was showing, as I think he normally does, show his true colors about it. But a lot of interesting things said yesterday during interviews. As far as the baseball game went, lackluster, and now the Giants come to town. Little worried about this Phillies Giants series coming up here. And then in my sick, twisted brain, because I'm worried, it's like, oh, well, this is where they'll show us that they got it. Come on. Show us where they got it. Aaron Nola gets the start. I really want to say that and inspire confidence. Game 1 against the San Francisco Giants, that you have a 2-game lead on in the wild card, 2.5-game lead on the rest of the pack, but a 2-game lead on the San Francisco Giants. Aaron Nola starts game 1. There was a time where I would be like, Aaron Nola's got this. Phillies got their ace on the bump tonight, baby, to lead things. I did fantastic. I feel terrible. I feel so terrible about this. I am like, here's where I'm at, mentally speaking. Oh, my God. Come on in. I'll take you inside the brain of me right now. I feel like Aaron Nola's going to go out there and he's going to pitch really well, and he's 1-2. And then I think in the third inning, he's going to walk the first batter. He's going to give a base hit. It's going to be first and third with nobody out, and then like a 3-run home run. And then it's going to be like another walk and then a slow bleed. That's how I feel. If you're a member of the Phillies lineup, if you're grabbing a bat tonight, 6:40 start time at the series, and you know that Aaron Nola's trotting out to the mound, you know you got to put up tonight, right? The challenge has to be on the bats. Like, I am going to be happy if Aaron Nola gives up 4 to 5 runs. Like, I'm going to be happy about that. All right, you got a bullpen game, another bullpen game with the San Francisco Giants. Just go out there and mash, please. Like, I need 10 runs from the offense. I need a 10-5 Phillies win tonight. That's what I need to calm my nerves and feel decent about the rest of the series. I need a 10-5 Phillies win. That's what I need. Aaron Nola going out there makes me go, okay, well, the other team's going to score 4 or 5 runs. I'm going to need the Phillies put up 10. Just, maybe I'll give up some wiggle room to the bullpen as well. Maybe that's going to be the case. Phillies only needed 1 bullpen arm last night, by the way. Luis Ortiz went in and pitched the 8th inning. Obviously, no bottom of the 9th inning. But, that's what I need tonight. If you're a Phillies batter tonight, you have to know, oh, God, I want to have confidence in Nola, but I can't because, he hasn't been good at all. 4 consecutive non-quality starts for Aaron Nola. That's atrocious. you got to go up there knowing good at bats, working counts, and driving in runs. That's like the mindset you have to have tonight. Let me wait for my pitch to hit. Let me not force anything. Let me not flail at a pitch that's low and away. Let me not get fooled on those sliders. Let me not get fooled on those breaking balls. So there's something, as great as Nick Castellanos has been this season, it seems like in this Washington National Series, that sinker that they were throwing him, he could not track. Especially inside sinkers, more specifically. Go away from him a little bit, and he was able to go opposite field with that 3-run home run that he had to tie the game on Saturday. But he was swinging over top of those sinkers that were coming inside on him. He just was not recognizing that pitch at all. That was terrible. But in this series, hopefully that's not going to be an issue. But obviously, you're going to be facing specialists, especially today with a bullpen game there for the Giants. But Castellanos obviously has to have a big game tonight. And this offense needs to rely on the guys that have been driving and runs for him all season, Alec Boehm being one of them. When you got Aaron Nola on the hill, Taijuan Walker's supposed to go up in the next one, and then Michael Lorenzen's back on the hill. By the way, I mentioned the thing with David Cohen talking about the SpongeBob SquarePants bat during the game last night, and it was the Philly Fanatic bat, so let's just make it clear. And then also he was like, oh, no, I pitched my perfect game. Talking about Michael Lorenzen's no-hitter. He's like, oh, well, sometimes you need a little bit more rest. Maybe the Phillies should have opted to give him more rest. And I'm like, the Phillies did give him more rest. What the? Did you get a wrong note? Who gave you the wrong note? He had like 4 weeks off. He had a maternity leave between starts. Come on. I did not know that David Cohen. I did not know that David Cohen walked the next guy. The first batter he faced in the game following his perfect game, he walked the first batter. That is pretty funny. But anyway, Phillies and Giants get things started tonight at 6:40 in South Philadelphia.
Gabe Kapler will be there. He'll be presenting beautifully, I'm sure, in the Giants dugout at Citizens Bank Park. Now I'll show you how I feel about the game through the beauty of interpretive dance.
Anyway. So that's what you got going on tonight at CBP. Phillies hopefully get back on the winning track after dropping 2 or 3 to the Nationals. I am very much done with the preseason when it comes to the NFL. I'm done with the preseason when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm done with, 6 injuries in your last game against the Cleveland Browns team. I'm done. I'd love to move on to the regular season as fast as humanly possible. The Eagles play their final preseason game Thursday night against the Indianapolis Colts. See how that all shakes out. But until then, we got some things to decide here when it comes to the roster. Start of the show, I mentioned the linebackers, I mentioned the safety positions. I also am curious to see what the Eagles are doing with their running back room. I do not think you're going to have a clear-cut running back as far as your number one guy. I think DeAndre Swift is going to lead this team in touches. I think Kenny Gainwell is going to lead this team in carries. I think Swift, a combination, obviously, of runs and receptions, is going to be the leader in the clubhouse. But as far as running the football, I think it's going to come down to Kenny Gainwell. I think it's going to come down to Rashad Penny if he stays healthy. I think Boston Scott will get the, in case of emergency, break glass treatment, most notably against the Giants, most famously against the Giants. And I do not think that Trey Sermon is going to make the club. He may be a practice squad guy, but I don't think he's going to make the 53. That's the way I see it shaking out. The running back room will be that steady rotation. Guys will get dinged, unfortunately. It's the nature of the beast, and other guys will get opportunities. But when you start the season, I don't think there's going to be a clear-cut RB1. The depth chart might reflect something different, but I think statistically, I think plays being called, your running back room is going to be, if you're looking for a clear-cut number one, I think you're going to be looking all season for a clear-cut number one coming out of the backfield. As far as your defense goes, I think your offense is pretty set. One question I did like, by the way, yesterday, A.J. Brown was addressing the media. And A.J. Brown I find very interesting because he doesn't, like, he understands the weight of words very well. And that might be bad for someone who's in a position like myself. It might be bad for a writer because you want to write, somebody giving a strong opinion on somebody else, especially if it's a teammate. But A.J. Brown doesn't want to put any pressure on anybody. So he gets asked a question like, hey, any young player getting, jumping out to you? And the name he went to is Jalen Carter, as many did. Lane Johnson, Dallas Goedert, they did the same thing. But A.J. Brown got asked a question yesterday about the Eagles' offense. and how explosive the Eagles offense was last year. And you got to ask the question, do you expect to be even more explosive with the weapons you have this year? Now, what's different? Okay, now, obviously, you have Dallas Goedert, you have A.J. Brown, you have Devontae Smith, you have Olamide Zaccheaus could add a new wrinkle here, along with a healthy Quez Watkins. I know some people chuckle at that, the mention of Quez Watkins, but it's possible. But the new guy here is Olamide Zaccheaus. Then in the backfield, you have an absolute complete running back field. You have a guy who's going to be starting off at an MVP level in Jalen Hurts. You have an offensive line that is expected to be pretty stacked again this year. Can you be more explosive now that everyone has had a year under their belt of playing together? A.J. Brown's answer to that was, I think we have to show him. It wasn't hell yeah. It wasn't like machismo. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't moxie. It was, I think we have to show him. In other words, this roster, this offense, it was one of the best scoring offenses in the entire NFL last year. This offense that boasted an MVP caliber quarterback, this offense that made it to a Super Bowl is going to be, or at least going to have the opportunity to prove to people that they can be better than what they were last year. They have that year under their belt. And like I've been saying about Jalen Hurts, what does he have to do in the upcoming season to top the previous season? Apply the experience. This whole offense now has the experience of playing together. One full year last year, and now they're back together again this year. The only major wrinkle in this offense this year is the fact that you have a different play caller in Brian Johnson. Now, Shane Steichen, now I'll say this. I don't think it's as much of a vote of confidence in Brian Johnson or Shane Steichen as much as it is a admission of Nick Sirianni that he's just not good calling plays. Calling plays while trying to coach an entire team is not his strong suit. So he delegates. They call it the CEO way of doing things as an NFL head coach. You delegate. Yeah, offensive coordinator is going to be your play caller offensively, and obviously your defensive coordinator is going to call your plays defensively. That makes sense. I just think it's a good admission of Nick Sirianni to understand where he might lack. This isn't my strong suit, so I'm going to let somebody else do it. Brian Johnson has the potential of being a better play caller than Shane Steichen. The potential is there. Doesn't have any experience at the NFL level, but the potential is there considering the offense that is around him, considering the weapons that he has at his disposal. He has the potential to do it. It's going to be hard because Shane Steichen was pretty phenomenal at doing it, and you put that entire great year together last year under his tutelage, under his play calling. But Brian Johnson definitely has the opportunity in front of him and the potential to be better. Want to see that play out. But when you look at this offense going into the season, you ask one of the best members of this offense, and A.J. Brown, do you have potential to be better than what you were last year, more explosive than what you were last year? And his attitude is, yeah, we got to show him. That's the mindset you want to have in your football player. Last year, a Super Bowl year, an NFC Championship year. We can be better. 2 different receivers with over 1,000 yards. We can be better. Yeah, go out and top last year. You think 1 year, sure, can definitely let people around the league know, especially with the tough schedule that the Eagles have this year. 1 year can let everybody know what you can do. You do it for 2 years, it's becoming a norm. It's becoming a norm. It's not just a flash in the pan that 1 year you guys were able to have this great NFL, offense. Do it again. Because here's the other thing. Defensively speaking, this defense is going to have a learning curve. With new guys out there, Reed Blankenship, your regular starter. Jalen Carter looks like he's going to be a starter in the defensive line next to Fletcher Cox. You're going to be moving in to Nolan Smith more and more. Nakobe Dean, the starting middle linebacker. Jordan Davis working his way through now his sophomore season in the NFL. This defense is going to have a little bit of a learning curve. So your offense needs to come out clicking on all cylinders. And it feels like defenses a lot of times are ahead of offenses. So I'd love to see the opportunity there of the offense being able to come out of the gate firing. And with everyone on the same page from last year, I would love that opportunity for this NFL team, for this Philadelphia Eagles team, to do what A.J. Brown said, which is not talk about the idea of being better than what they were last year, but going out there and, quote-unquote, showing the NFL they could be more explosive than they were last year. That's what I'm looking forward to. when the Eagles crack open the regular season schedule against the Patriots coming up in less than 3 weeks. That's what I'm looking forward to. But that's something that jumped out at me. The other thing that jumped out at me from listening to these guys talk is how impressed everybody is with Jalen Carter. And they go beyond the saying something nice about a young teammate, about a rookie teammate. They go into specifics. Lane Johnson got into it over the weekend, talking about how Jalen Carter comes out there and he is just NFL ready. About how he goes out there and he looks like he is going to be a great player in this league for a long time. His lateral movement's great. His quickness is great. His strength is great. Dallas Goedert told a story about how he was charged with blocking him a couple of times. And he was just like, yeah, no, I held on for a second. And after that, I was on the ground. Like, that's what you're faced off. That's what you have to face off against. It's not just hype from Georgia. It's NFL players talking about their experiences trying to block a guy who is supposed to be a mountain in his own right to try to move as a defensive tackle, as a nose tackle in the defensive line. Sean Desai, when he was talking about him, talking about the development and how he's learning and how he's coming along great and quickly and all that stuff, but also credited position coaches. Whenever asked about any young player out there on the field, he always gives a shout out to his position coaches to make sure that they understand that their work is being recognized for how they're bringing along these young players. But it really is impressive to me to listen to guys like Lane Johnson, guys like Dallas Goedert, guys like Fletcher Cox talk about the impact of Jalen Carter right out of the gate. One player in particular, I think it was Reed Blankenship, gave a shout out to Nakobe Dean. When he was asked the question, who's the guy that's going to have a breakout year? He said Nakobe Dean. When you think about it, other than any rookie on the team, Nakobe Dean has the highest ceiling. When you think about it, 34 snaps defensively last year. Played really well in that Tennessee Titans game, the game the Eagles won like 35-10, and he got some reps there, and he played great. Had a tackle for loss in that experience. That's where he got most of his snaps. But he gets an opportunity now to be the starting middle linebacker and signal caller for the Eagles. And I've been saying it, if you're going to buy stock, I'm buying stock in Nakobe Dean. So now he has an opportunity to go out there and really show you what his ceiling could be. So if you're looking at a guy that has the most room between where he's at now and his ceiling, Nakobe Dean is one of those guys. If you're looking at any of the 11 starters, Nakobe Dean is one of the guys out there, non-rookies, that has an opportunity to really show you how much room he has between where he's at now and what his ceiling truly is. That's what he has the opportunity to do. Now, Reed Blankenship got out there yesterday and was talking about the speed and quickness. And I had talked about after the game against the Browns, how the play he made at the goal line really showed you the three things that we have been touting about Nakobe Dean since he came in here to the NFL. The other thing that has been going on is the blitzing, and we'll get to that in a second. But on that particular play, as we talked about last week, he showed his smarts in recognizing the play that was going on, his quickness in getting to the ball carrier, and then his ability to make a play. Now, some people look at that and be like, oh, he whiffed on a tackle. He made the play. I'm not going to get down on it. Okay, I'd rather him force a fumble than make a tackle. And he forced a fumble. The rest of the team, they fell on the football. They made the play happen. That's great to see. But he recognized the play. He showed his smarts. He showed his quickness, the instincts, obviously, to recognize that, and then making the play. That was great. Now, before that, hitting a quarterback scrambling in the head, yeah, not great. Not a good look. But he made the very next play. I want to see that. I think that's the most curious thing about everything with this team going into this season. The most curious thing that I'm looking at going into the year is how Nakobe Dean plays as your middle linebacker. Now, go to the blitzing. I saw it with Ben Van Sumeren. I saw it with Christian Ellis. I didn't see it much with Nakobe Dean while he was out there. But it looked like Sean Desai, and it could just be him doing something in the preseason because he's not going to do it in the regular season. But a number of times, I saw your middle linebacker, not Nakobe Dean, but I saw a middle linebacker blitz. TJ Edwards wasn't exactly fleet of foot. So getting after a quarterback in a blitz situation, in a blitz play call, wasn't something you're going to do often with him. But Nakobe Dean, you could do that. And one of the things I was reading from our friend Dave Zangaro was that at practice yesterday, Nakobe Dean was asked to do that a couple of times. I am very curious because I live and die by this, and I think everybody should because I think it's the smartest thing coaches can do. You don't coach to your scheme. And this is one of the things that I think Jonathan Gannon got too much criticism for. I don't have a scheme, and I understand that doesn't really grab people's attention in a positive way. But I get what he's saying. You don't coach to your scheme, you coach to your players. And I think that's what good coaches do. Jim Johnson did a phenomenal job of doing that with Brian Dawkins and Jeremiah Trotter. Those are the two guys above anyone else that I look at and go, Jim Johnson worked his magic with those two players better than anybody in coaching to their strength. Brian Dawkins, yeah, sure, he can be the deepest man on the field. Sure, he can intercept the pass. But I also know that he can play at the line of scrimmage. I know he can get into the backfield. I know he can raise hell in the backfield. I know he can make a stop in stepping up to plug off. I know he could be used almost as a linebacker. Let me have him play in the box a little bit more. Jeremiah Trotter. Oh, guess what? This guy's going to be a third defensive tackle. Go break up that offensive line. Go get in the backfield. Go get a tackle for loss. Go get a sack. Go force a mistake. Coach to what you have. Don't have an idea and then square peg, round hole it. So, Sean Desai, you have been given this instrument in Nakobe Dean, someone who was a great blitzer at Georgia, someone who I think has speed, quickness, and instincts to be able to do it at the NFL level. See if it works. I'm not saying it's got to be a Jim Johnson level of blitzing because, unfortunately, I think that way of playing defense has just gone the way of the dodo. But now you have a guy that you know can do it. You have a defensive line that you know can open up gaps for him to run through to make sure that you're trying to force a mistake, get a hurry, get a sack, force a fumble, get a tackle for loss. You have somebody like that has great talent. You also have speed around the edges, too, whether it's your defensive ends or your outside linebackers in Hassan Reddick and Nolan Smith. You have speed, greasy, fast speed defensively. I want to see a little bit of that. I'm looking at it in the preseason. I'm watching it in the preseason from Sean Desai. And I like what I'm seeing from Sean Desai. You're not getting overall game plan and scheme. I get that. But just what I have seen, just dialing up a blitz, I love that idea. That is something that could change the outcome of a game. Now, yeah, you could get burned. Absolutely, you could get burned. But if you have someone that can get after the quarterback, as well as Nakobe Dean can get after the quarterback, as fast as he can get after the quarterback, as quickly as he can get in the backfield to disrupt something, and then you have guys coming around the edges too, that is a recipe to raise hell. I'm not saying do it every play. I'm not saying you got to do it because you got to get 80 sacks this year to show that you are better at it. But there are those times where things just aren't going your way. In any game where you can have a Washington Commanders game like you did last year, where just anything you did, you couldn't do it right. Just anything, you couldn't do it right. It was like predetermined. No, you're going to lose this game. Like the NFL script said. But time and time again, you saw those opportunities come up where things weren't going right. The Colts game, I shouldn't say time and time again. The Eagles had a great year this year, so I don't want to blow it out of proportion. But there are times when the defense just doesn't have anything going right. You need to dial up something to make things go the right way. And I think you have a defense here that will make plays on their own without blitzing, just like last year. And then you'll have opportunities here to do the speed, quickness, and instincts of this defense to say, all right, you know what? It's time for us to make something happen. And I think you have the talent this year to do it, where you don't have to rely just on one-on-one battles being won. You'll have guys that'll win those battles. I think Jalen Carter is going to win his fair share of battles. I think Fletcher Cox is going to win his battles. I think Brandon Graham, I think Josh Sweat, I think Hassan Reddick, I think Nolan Smith, they're going to win their battles. So you don't have to blitz an incredible amount more than Jonathan Gannon. But I do think when the time comes for it, calls for it in a game, you have the personnel to get home. And that's why I also love reading what we read last week, or hearing what we heard last week from Nolan Smith after the Browns game, saying that, like, I'm here to make plays. I'm here to finish plays. I'm not here to get close. They didn't bring me in here to get close. They brought me in here to finish. And I was like, that a boy, young fella. It ain't just about the hurry. It's about the sack. It's about making the play. It's about finishing the play. Loved hearing that from our guy, Nolan Smith. So Eagles will welcome the Colts Shane Steichen and all that fun stuff. We'll get into all that conversation as the week goes on. James Harden. I'm going to get to the chat check here in a second, but James Harden. As I said at the start of the show, and as I've been saying this entire time, now if something new comes up with James Harden, I'm going to talk about it, but I will not be held hostage. I've told you guys how I feel about it. Whatever anyone's offering right now, I take it, because this is not going to go well. James Harden is not going to play for the 76ers again. You had to get out in front of this, Daryl Morey. You had to get out in front of it. The minute he opted in, trade him a week later, because his return, what little it was already, was only going to be diminished further. So I hope a trade happens sooner rather than later. But when it comes to this situation right now with the NBA, I can't wait for this investigation to conclude, because I think we all need to be a fly on the wall when it came to the conversation a year ago between Daryl Morey and James Harden. I remember I was in Costco, as a matter of fact. I was roaming around the aisles at Costco, being like, I really do need 10 pounds of ketchup. But I was roaming around, and I remember the alert came up on my phone that the 76ers had come into an agreement for a 1 year with a player option for a second year with James Harden at $15 million less than what everyone was expecting. And I remember at that moment thinking, oh, Daryl, what do you have up your sleeve? And the Sixers were going to run it back. I would certainly hope that Daryl Morey is smart enough to not promise a player something and then, of course, go back on his word. But I am really excited, flat out. I am very eager to understand and know what the NBA what comes out of their investigation into this conversation between James Harden and Daryl Morey. Look, it was shady before when James Harden said he would take less money, and the NBA investigated, and they said, okay, all is good there. So the theories of possibly Michael Rubin stepping down as a minority owner, him going more into fanatics and sports betting and all that stuff. Oh, is something going on here with him and James Harden? Oh, is there something off the NBA books? Apparently not. But the NBA is going to try to find out what was said in that meeting and if anything was promised to James Harden. Once again, on behalf of everyone in Philadelphia and every 76ers fan, this might be the only time anyone says this about the NBA, but thank you. Because we're all pretty damn curious to know what was said or what was promised to make James Harden tell all of China and then the entire world that Daryl Morey is a liar. Now, in case you haven't heard me say this before, I don't think this has any effect on free agency or players wanting to come to Philadelphia. Players will come to Philadelphia because Philadelphia pays players. Say what you will about Josh Harris and the ownership group and how many teams he owns now. He spends money. They give $170 million to Ben Simmons. He didn't even shoot yet. Anyone that says, oh, this is going to be bad, it's a bad look. Well, I don't agree that it's a good look, but as far as players wanting to come to Philadelphia, oh, you're going to pay me money? Okay. Especially free agency, zero effect. Sign right here for $240 million. Okay. So I know people are saying, look, I haven't been impressed with Daryl Morey. The best thing he's done is Tyrese Maxey. The best trade he has made is, I think they're all tied, but for not great. But when it comes to fleecing another team, it has not happened. It has not happened. I mean, maybe you could say that with Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons hasn't done anything for the Nets. But James Harden, the Sixers made it to the playoffs, but they just kept on doing the same thing they did with Ben Simmons anyway. So what are you gonna do? And now they're in this mess. So yeah, look forward to answers. Thank you, NBA, for starting that investigation. Let's get into the chat check and see how you beautiful people are doing this fine morning. What's going on? Starting it over on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. What's going on? Sean Kilrain. Good morning, guys. Sean Kilrain. We welcome Coconut Oil Manager and Company. We got to at least win 2 or 3, right, Farzy? Absolutely. Oh, Sean Kilrain, you're a welder? That a guy. Miles Jack's coming for your job, friend. He's coming for your job. We'll be playing against Miles. The Jacob Media basketball team will be competing against Miles Jack and other union workers the next summer in the Labor Classic. I look forward to my newest hoodie from the Labor Classic. Sean Gillespie, what's going on the Farzy Show YouTube channel now? What's going on, guys? Sean Gillespie, hello. Phillies are so frustrating. I concur. Hot and cold. It's not funny. Is there any way they can go on a legit tear? Yeah, they could do it. I'll say the fourth inning, Nola serves up 2 meatballs. Just say Sean Kilray, fourth inning. You're going fourth inning? I'm going third inning. I'll say fourth inning, Nola serves 2 meatballs. Sean Kilray, linebacker unit will be Dean, Cunningham, and Ellis, says Sean Kilrain. I think that'll be a steady rotation of Christian Ellis. I think Christian Ellis can play. I think he can flat out play. April! Morning, April. April, do you know where Topsail is? It looks like Topsail. I think that's North Carolina. I think it's very southern North Carolina. I think it's an island. My cousin just moved there. She opened up an ice cream store. I don't know if you know anything about it, but she was supposed to live down there for the summer, and then she was going to move back, and now they're just like, I think we're staying, and they stayed. So there you go. Mia Sanchez, what's going on, brother? Phillies and Nats should have played at Lamade Stadium last night. There'd be at least a little offense, though. The smaller ballpark, go for it. Blue City Empire Sports, happy football season. I have a question for you. What's your opinion about the New York Giants wide receiver Jalen Hyatt, first preseason touchdown against Carolina Panthers? Quick. Here's my issue. The first thing that comes out is quick, okay? The second thing that comes out is Daniel Jones is still throwing him the football, and I have zero respect for Daniel Jones. Yeah, he's got wheels. Sean Kilrain's breaking it down as well. There you go. April, Harden is playing the same game Ben Simmons did to get out of here. All the teams know we have no leverage. Yeah, that's April. Perfect way to say it. James Harden doesn't want to play for you anymore. Trade him as soon as humanly possible, because he is going to be a problem and he's going to be a distraction. I keep looking forward to the light at the end of the tunnel, which is very simple. It's very simple light at the end of the tunnel. The very simple light at the end of the tunnel is that it's going to be Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid Sixers. Tyrese Maxey, go be an all-star. That's my ask. Go be an all-star. Top sale is beautiful. Good for her. There we go, April. Thank you. Harden loves to burn a bridge. Boy, does he. You ain't kidding. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are fantastic as per usual. Phillies, Giants tonight. Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Phillies get underway tonight. 6:40 start time. Aaron Nola on the hill for the Phillies. It'll be a bullpen game. Bullpen game for the San Francisco Giants. Aaron Nola goes against Scott Alexander, left-handed pitcher. One more thing I want to say about last night's Phillies game to close out the morning rush here. Trevor Williams allowed 20 runs. 20 runs in his previous 4 starts. He tossed 6 scoreless innings against the Phillies last night. Congratulations to Trevor Williams. He's figured it out, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been the Farzy Show. Jim Hyde produced the program. Did a wonderful job as per usual. Catch me coming up at 7:45 today on Fox 29. We got another bald segment coming up with my friend A-Town Shander and Alex and Mike. See you guys then, and see you guys tonight after hopefully a Phillies win over the San Francisco Giants. 6:40 start time, so I'll be with you guys for Fighting's post game after that on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. See you guys later. Bye.